Hello everyone. So this is the last part of chapter 9 history, which is Kings and Chronicles. So the topic which we have to start with is the imperial officials. तो इसमें हम डिस्कस करेंगे how was the empire administered, what were the important offices which contributed towards the administration of such a big empire. So the imperial organization was dependent on several different institutions और इसमें से जो सबसे important institution था that was of the nobility. तो जो नोबिलिटी थी वो ऑफिशियल्स की हायरार्की में सबसे ऊपर थी. द नोबिलिटी केम फ्रॉम डाइवर्स एथनिक एंड रिलीजियस बैकग्राउंड्स. हाउएवर एक चीज़ का ध्यान रखा गया था कि नोबिलिटी में कोई भी एथनिक या रिलीजियस ग्रुप ऐसा ना हो, इतना बड़ा ना हो कि वो स्टेट की अथॉरिटी को चैलेंज कर सके. तो अब देयर वर तुरानी एंड ईरानी नोबल्स इन द मुगल एम्पायर. तो हमने डिस्कस किया था इन द प्रीवियस वीडियो दैट वाई इरानियंस वर अ पार्ट ऑफ द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ मुगल एम्पायर. सो वी डिस्कस्ड वेरियस रीजंस फॉर दैट. Turan was also a historical region of the Central Asia. So it corresponds to the present day countries of Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. So from the very beginning, these Turani and Iranian nobles, they were a part of the Mughal administration. Then धीरे धीरे, particularly from 1560 onwards, the Rajputs and the Indian Muslims also started becoming a part of the administration. तो हमने पिछले चैप्टर में भी डिस्कस किया था इन द टॉपिक ऑफ द इम्पीरियल हाउस होल्ड कि किस तरह से मैरिजेस वर अ मीन्स ऑफ एक्सपैंडिंग द किंगडम. तो जो एम्परर्स थे दे यूज्ड टू एंटर इनटू मैरिज अलायंसेस with Hindu princesses, and one example of this was that Jodha Bai, who later came to be known as Maryam Uz-Zamani. She was the daughter of Raja Bharmal, who was the Raja of Amir. तो she married Akbar. तो यही एक ज़रिया बना of entry of Rajputs into the Mughal administration. राइट क्योंकि ये मैरिजेस एक तरह से सिंबल होती थी, एक साइन होती थी ऑफ कंप्लीट सबमिशन ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर किंग टू द मुगल एम्पायर. ऑल्सो बिकॉज ऑफ सच इन्फ्लुएंसेस जो हिंदू मिनिस्टर्स होते थे ऑफ द एम्पायर, दे ऑल्सो यूज टू गेट सर्टन फेवर्स, सर्टन बेनिफिट्स फ्रॉम द एम्पर. दे वर प्रमोटेड, दे वर मेड अ पार्ट ऑफ द इनर नेट्स ऑफ द एम्पर एंड सो ऑन. वन सच एग्जाम्पल इज राजा टोडरमल, हु वॉज द फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ऑफ एम्पर अकबर. Then even in the case of Aurangzeb, Rajputs were given high positions in the empire. Then Iranians के केस में we know कि वो starting से ही मुगल एम्पायर के administration का part थे. However, one thing important is that during the time of Noor Jahan, when the Iranians they gained high offices. In the previous video, we discussed how Noor Jahan took interest in the political matters, in the financial matters of the empire, and how influential she was. Then मनसबदारी सिस्टम वॉज एन इम्पॉर्टेंट कॉम्पोनेंट ऑफ द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. तो अब मनसबदारी सिस्टम जिसके बारे में हमने ब्रीफली डिस्कस किया था इन चैप्टर 8, इट इज़ अ मिलिट्री एंड ब्यूरोक्रेटिक एपरेटस. तो इसके मिलिट्री फंक्शंस भी थे एंड सिविल फंक्शंस भी थे. सो एम्परर अकबर इज़ द वन हु इज़ क्रेडिटेड विद द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ दिस मनसबदारी सिस्टम. तो अब मनसब का मतलब होता है प्लेस और पोजिशन. तो द इंडिविजुअल्स दे वर अलॉटेड पोजिशंस और रैंक्स इन द एम्पायर, जिससे उनका जो स्टेटस था एंड उनकी जो सैलरी थी दैट वाज फिक्स्ड बाय द एम्परर. ऑल्सो द नंबर ऑफ आर्म्ड रिटेनर्स विच वर टू बी मेंटेन्ड बाय दैट पर्टिकुलर इंडिविजुअल वर ऑल्सो फिक्स्ड. There were two important terms which were used. First is Zaat and second is Sawar. So Zaat specified the number of soldiers which were to be maintained by that person, and Sawar specified the number of horsemen to be maintained by that person. And those mansabdars who had 1000 Zaat or more than 1000 Zaat, they were considered as the nobles, and nobles often yielded power, wealth and reputation. Then इस सिस्टम के अंडर भी there was further bifurcation. For example, if the number of Sawar was equal to the number of Zaat, then those people were known as first class mansabdars. For example, अगर एक इंसान को let's say 5000 सवार को मेंटेन करना है एंड 5000 सोल्जर्स को मेंटेन करना है, तो here the number of सवार्स equal to the number of Zaat. So this particular individual will be called as the first class mansabdar. In case number of सवार is equal to half or more than half of Zaat, then they will be second class mansabdars, and in case the number of Sawars is less than half of Zaat, they will be third class mansabdars. For example, सेम एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल द नंबर ऑफ ज़ात टू बी मेंटेन्ड इज़ 5000 एंड जो सवार है दैट वुड बी लेस देन हाफ, विच मीन्स लेट्स से 2000, मतलब लेस देन 2500. तो दे विल बी नोन एज द थर्ड क्लास मनसबदार्स. तो जो बेसिकली डिटरमाइन करता था आपकी पोजीशन इन दी हायरार्की दैट वाज ज़ात. Then Murid were a special sect of nobles which were very close to the emperor. तो मुरीद्स को basically emperor अपने disciple की तरह consider करता था. Then coming on to the next point, that is how a person will join these nobles, that is how will he become a noble. तो इसके लिए he had to put forward a petition to the already existing nobles, and then these nobles they would send a tazweez to the emperor. So तजवीज़ is basically a proposal. And then जो मीर बख्शी होता था, that is the pay master general. He was the one who used to stand in the open court and announce the names of the people who have been selected as nobles. तो मीर बख्शी was basically the head of military. He was appointed from among the nobles of the court, and he was the in charge of intelligence gathering and made recommendations to the emperor for the military appointment and promotions. And final result भी यही announce करते थे. Plus his office used to prepare the orders which used to bear the seal and the signature of this Mir Bakshi as well as the emperor. Then apart from Mir Bakshi, there were two other important ministers. First is the Diwan-e-Ala and the second is the Sadr-us-Sudr. तो अब Diwan-e-Ala is basically the finance minister, that is one who headed the revenue department. And Sadr-us-Sudr was basically the head of or the minister of grants. So he headed the divinely department. तो उसकी chief duty जो होती थी that was to protect the laws of the Shariat, and his duty was to distribute allowances and stipends to religious institutions and eligible persons. Plus he was also responsible for appointing the local judges and the qazis. So these three ministers, that is the Mir Bakshi, the Diwan-e-Ala and the Sadr-us-Sudr, were basically independent. However, they formed an advisory body and they used to advise the emperor on various administrative, fiscal and monetary matters. Now let's move on to the next topic, which is information and empire. So we have seen that the Mughal Empire placed huge emphasis on the writing of records, on writing about various important events and about the emperors as well. So there were courtiers who used to do this work of recording all these things. So Waqia-Navees, that is court writers, they recorded all the applications and the documents which were presented to the court and all the imperial orders which were known as farmans. Then the Vakil of nobles and the regional rulers, they used to record the entire proceedings of the court, and these were known as Akhbarat-e-Darbar-e-Mualla. So now this Akhbarat used to contain all kind of information. For example, the attendance at the court, the grant of offices and titles, diplomatic missions, presents received, or any other inquiries which were made by the emperor about the health of the officers, etc. And this information also proved to be beneficial in writing down the history of the public and the private lives of the kings or the emperors. Then news reports and important official documents, they could be sent from one place to another through the system of imperial post which was built up. And there were even foot runners which were known as qasid who used to transport this information from one place to another. Then coming on to the topic of provincial administration, तो central level पे administration we've already seen. अब provinces में, that is states में कैसे administration की जाती थी. So the division of functions was same just like in the center. तो जिस तरह से सेंट्रल लेवल पे वी हैड द ऑफिसेज ऑफ मीर बख्शी, द ऑफिसेज ऑफ दीवान-ए-आला एंड सदर-उस-सुदर, उसी तरह से हमारे पास स्टेट लेवल पे भी यही सब मशीनरी थी. Then the head of the provincial administration was the governor who was known as the सूबेदार. So basically the empire was divided into सूबास. तो अकबर के टाइम पे there were about 15 सूबास and औरंगज़ेब के टाइम पे this number went up to 20. Then the head of the सूबा was governor. तो अब हर सूबा was divided into सरकार्स which are known as districts. तो अब डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में वी हैव द दीवानी जुरिस्डिक्शन एज वेल एज फौजदारी जुरिस्डिक्शन. तो दीवानी का मतलब है सिविल जुरिस्डिक्शन एंड फौजदारी का मतलब होता है क्रिमिनल जुरिस्डिक्शन. तो आज भी हम यही चीज़ को फॉलो करते हैं. इन द केस ऑफ सबऑर्डिनेट जुडिशरी हमारे पास सिविल जजेस भी होते हैं एंड क्रिमिनल जजेस भी होते हैं. known as district and session judges respectively. So these two jurisdictions used to overlap. Then the sarkars were further divided into parganas or mahals, which are called sub-districts. Then sub-district level पे we had three important officers. First is the Kanun Go, second is Chaudhary, and third is Qazi. So Kanun Go was basically the keeper of revenue records. तो ये बेसिकली एक रजिस्टर मेंटेन करते थे इन विच देयर वर डिटेल्स अबाउट द विलेज लैंड ओनर्स एंड कल्टिवेटर्स एंड हाउ द लैंड रेवेन्यू was fixed and so on. Then Chaudhary was the one who was in charge of the collection of revenue, and Qazi was basically the judge. That is the one who used to settle the disputes between people. Every department had a large support staff of clerks, accountants, auditors, messengers, and other functionaries who were all responsible for the efficient administration of the empire. Then the language which was used for the administration was Persian, as we've already seen कि Persian जो थी वो court language थी of the empire, and then there were other regional and local languages as well which were in use. तो for example village accounts को maintain करने के लिए local या regional language का ही use किया जाता था. Now let's move on to the next topic, which is beyond the frontiers. So beyond the frontiers means beyond the boundaries of the Mughal Empire. तो अब मुगल एम्पायर के रिलेशंस बाकी एम्पायर्स के साथ कैसे थे. सो वी हैव रिपीटेडली डिस्कस्ड दैट द रिलेशंस ऑफ मुगल एम्पायर विद द सफाविद एंड द ऑटोमन एम्पायर्स, दे वर गुड. द सफाविद वाज द ईरानियन एम्पायर एंड एट इट्स पीक इट इंक्लूडेड ईरान, अजरबैजान, बहरीन, आर्मेनिया, इराक, कुवैत, parts of Afghanistan, Turkey, Syria, Pakistan, etc. And Ottoman Empire corresponded to the parts of southeastern Europe, portions of Middle East, North Africa, and even parts of the Arabian Peninsula. तो कई aspects पे these two empires, they had conflicting relations with the Mughal Empire as well, that there were tensions between all these empires. So with respect to Iran and Turan is also a historical region of Central Asia. तो इनका जो रिलेशन था मुगल एम्पायर के साथ, दैट वाज कंस्ट्रेन्ड विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द कंट्रोल ऑफ द हिंदू कुश माउंटेन्स. So the Hindu Kush mountains, they basically separate Afghanistan from the regions of Iran and Central Asia. तो जितने भी कॉन्करर्स थे, they wanted to control Hindu Kush mountains because अगर उनको इंडियन सब कॉन्टिनेंट में अपना रूल इस्टेब्लिश करना होता था तो दे हैड टू क्रॉस दी हिंदू कुश माउंटेन्स. तो इन्हीं के थ्रू इनको क्रॉस करने के बाद ही दे कुड एक्सेस इंडिया. सो दिस वाज डेफिनेटली वन बोन ऑफ कंटेंशन बिटवीन दीज टू एम्पायर्स. तो दोनों ही एम्पायर्स चाहते थे दैट ऐसी स्ट्रेटिजिक जगह की जो कंट्रोल हो वो उनके पास हो. Then the Mughal Empire also aimed to control Kabul and Gandhar. These two are again cities in Afghanistan. तो इनको कंट्रोल करना चाहता था मुगल एम्पायर so that Iranians को इंडिया से दूर रखा जा सके. So that basically the Iranians, they could not have control over these Hindu Kush mountains. तो इनिशियली तो जो गांधार था दैट वाज इन पोजेशन ऑफ हुमायूं, एंड देन अकबर ने भी उसको रिकॉन्कर किया था इन 1595. हाउएवर later on the Mughals, they were defeated and they had to surrender this particular city of Kandahar to the Safavids. Then in case of Ottoman Empire, जो दो aspects important है हमारे लिए, that is with respect to pilgrimage and trade. तो यही दो टॉपिक्स थे जो इन दो एम्पायर्स के मेन कंसर्न थे. तो जो मुग़ल एम्पायर्स थे वो चाहते थे कि जो पिलग्रिम्स हैं एज वेल एज जो मर्चेंट्स हैं उनको ईजी एक्सेस मिले टू द टेरिटरी ऑफ द ऑटोमन एम्पायर. तो पिलग्रिमेज के एस्पेक्ट से इम्पॉर्टेंट क्यों था वो इसलिए बिकॉज द टू इम्पॉर्टेंट साइट्स विच आर बेसिकली द pilgrimage centers of the Islamic religion, that is Makkah and Medina, they both were under the Ottoman Empire. So the Mughal empires, they usually used to combine religion as well as commerce by exporting certain valuable merchandise to these parts, and then they used to distribute the proceeds of these sales in charity to the keepers of the shrines or the religious men. So basically the Mughal emperors used to ensure कि जो ये एरियाज़ हैं इनके साथ ट्रेड हो, एंड जो भी सेल होती थी उसकी जो भी प्रोसीड्स आती थी, जो भी उससे वो पैसा कमाते थे, वो उसको वहीं के रिलीजियस मैन को या वहाँ के इंस्टीट्यूशंस, रिलीजियस इंस्टीट्यूशंस को चैरिटी में दे दिया करते थे. तो इस तरह से दे हैड रिलेशंस बोथ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द रिलीजियस एज वेल एज कमर्शियल एस्पेक्ट्स. हाउएवर औरंगज़ेब ही डिस्कवर्ड कि ये जो फंड्स दिए जाते हैं टू अरेबिया इन द फॉर्म ऑफ चैरिटी एंड स्टफ, इस सब को मिस एप्रोप्रिएट किया जा रहा था. तो इसलिए ही डिसाइडेड कि इसकी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, इन फंड्स की डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इंडिया में ही की जाए, बिकॉज according to him, India was as much a house of God as Makkah. Then India may we see the coming of the Jesuit missionaries. So Jesuits were basically the members of Society of Jesus, that is a Roman Catholic order of priests. So they basically came to India in order to propagate the religion of Christianity. So these Jesuit missionaries, they established their first mission in India in Fatehpur Sikri in 1580, and then वो दो बार दोबारा आए हैं in 1591 and 1595. So these Jesuit missionaries, they had debates with the ulemas. Then they were in close proximity to Emperor Akbar. So इस तरह से we see that the emperors, they had interest in other religions as well, and that they accepted other faiths as well. So interfaith debates, they used to take place in the Ibadat Khana. So Ibadat means prayer. So prayer room में there used to be interfaith debates between members of different religions, for example Hindus, Muslims, Jains, Parsis and Christians. And we also see that in the case of Akbar, he moved away from the orthodox Islamic ways, and later on he went on to form his own religion of Deen-e-Ilahi, which is basically the religion of God or divine faith. It was established in the year 1582 by Emperor Akbar, and isme he merged the elements of different religions and reconciled the differences that divided the subjects. Although ये जो religion था, इसकी appeal बहुत ही ज़्यादा limited थी, that is only very few number of people followed this particular religion. तो इस तरह से we see that there was deviation from formal religion, and how the emperors, they took steps in order to assimilate and accommodate the heterogeneous population of their empire. तो यही एक reason था, because of steps like these, the Muslim rulers, they enjoyed legitimacy in the subcontinent even after the geographical extent and the political control which was exercised by the empire diminished in the later years. So this is about the Mughal Empire, and this is all for this chapter. Thank you so much for watching.